If a stranger whispers happy birthday to you in the dark, run, especially if you never told them your name. Daniel had never celebrated his birthday. Not once. Not with friends. Not with family. He didn't hate it. He just didn't see the point. But someone else did. Every year, like clockwork, a letter, no return address, no signature, just 3 words, scribbled in ink that never dried. Happy birthday, Daniel. Sometimes it was tucked in his mailbox. Other times, slipped under his pillow while he slept. Once, and he'll never forget it, he found it inside his locked apartment. He never told anyone because a part of him believed if he ignored it long enough, it might stop. This year, he didn't get a card. No whisper. Nothing. And that's when they came. Daniel never asked to be remembered, but somehow he always was. Every March 14th, without fail, someone somewhere remembered. Not friends, not family. He hadn't spoken to either in years, but the wishes came. They started when he turned 9. That year he got his first card. Not from his mother. She'd already left. Not from his father. He was already gone. The card simply read, "Happy birthday, Daniel." It was signed with a drawing, a child's hand, but not his. The next year, another one, then another, year after year. Even when Daniel moved cities, changed apartments, the cards followed. Always the same message, always the same day. He never told anyone, not his co-workers, not the girl he almost dated. He stopped celebrating altogether. Birthdays felt more like warnings. Until this year. This year, Daniel made a choice. He didn't go out, didn't answer texts, didn't open the blinds. And when the day passed, there was no card. For the first time in 22 years, they'd stopped remembering. But the silence felt worse. You'd think Daniel would have been relieved. 22 years of eerie cards. Gone. Nothing came this time. But relief never came, because in place of the cards, there was silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind of silence that feels measured, as if something was listening just to make sure you noticed. The second night after his birthday, Daniel woke up, not to a sound, but to a feeling that someone was watching him from inside the apartment. He got up, every room empty, windows locked, door bolted. Then he found it, a single slice of cake, sitting on the floor beside his bed, still warm. He hadn't baked it, he hadn't ordered it, and the oven hadn't been used in days. He opened his laptop to report it, but the screen glitched. All his birthday photos, old ones he didn't remember taking, had been replaced. He wasn't the guest, he was the gift. That was the last night Daniel slept with the lights off. On the third day, Daniel saw someone, not a face, a shape blur behind frosted glass. It didn't move, it didn't knock, just watched. Daniel pulled the curtain shut and waited. When he looked again, it was gone. That night, he checked the building's CCTV. Every camera played fine, except one frame. That's all it took. The timestamp, 3:14 a.m., the exact time he was born. Then came the whispers, not through the walls, through the vents. Happy birthday, Daniel. You forgot us. We never forget. He tried blasting music, leaving the apartment. But no matter where he went, they followed. People on the street started looking at him longer. Too long. Some smiled, others whispered. The cult had found him, not just in spirit, but in flesh. And taped to the back of the photo was a candle, burnt, still warm. When Daniel flipped over the photograph, he saw the candle, taped to the back, still warm to the touch. He didn't sleep that night. Something had changed. He could feel it. At 3:14 a.m., the lights flickered, then failed. They hadn't just been watching. They'd been waiting. His doorbell rang. A box. Inside, a cake. The same one from his 10th birthday. Same frosting. Same colors. But aged, molded, still warm. He threw the cake away. But by morning, it was back, sitting on his kitchen counter. Candle already lit. Then came the voices again, louder this time, unified, chanting from the vents, the walls, the mirrors. He looked up every name he could remember from the cards, birthdays, death notices, obituaries, every single one gone, as if they'd never existed. At 3:14 the next night, he woke up standing in a circle of candles. He didn't know how he got there, or why the flame wouldn't go out, no matter how hard he blew. That's when he finally saw one, a member of the cult. The cult didn't want him dead. Not yet. First, they wanted a party. On the morning of the 5th day, Daniel left his apartment. He needed noise, light, people, but it didn't help because they were out there too. They weren't hiding anymore. He saw party hats in alleyways, a birthday banner strung between two lampposts. No one else seemed to notice. He ran, but the world was becoming theirs. He didn't know who to trust. Even his reflection started acting off. Then came the invitation. Inside, a photograph, a long banquet table, 13 chairs, one seat empty. His, would you open the invitation or run while you still can? Comment yes or no below. That night, the entire hallway smelled like melted wax and frosting. When Daniel looked through the peephole, no one was there. Inside the box was a mask shaped like his own face and a note, "Happy birthday, guest of honor. Put this on. The others are waiting." The mask fit perfectly, too perfectly, like it had been molded from him. The moment he wore it, he blacked out. When he woke, he was standing in a room he didn't recognize, but his bones did. 13 chairs circled the table. 12 were filled, faces masked, hands folded. The only sound, wax dripping from 1,000 candles. The 13th chair was his name carved into it, in childlike handwriting. A figure rose at the far end of the table. No eyes, just a melted wax face. It spoke not in words, but in memories. They told him the truth, that the cult isn't new. It's ancient, eternal, and its members are forgotten children, forgotten birthdays, from across time. Each year, they pick someone who's always been celebrated, and then they're made to remember what it's like to be forgotten. Daniel had never missed a birthday, not once, until this year. What happens to a soul when no one remembers their name? Would you rather be forgotten or chosen? Remember me if you'd take the 13th chair. The figure placed a candle before him. Blow it out, it whispered, and become one of us. He hesitated. Then a second voice whispered from behind his mask, one that sounded like his own. He blew out the candle, but the flame didn't die. Instead, the others opened their eyes. The room never went dark. Not once. The candles didn't burn down. They burned backward. Daniel sat at the table, surrounded by celebration, but not a single face looked his way. They sang to someone, not to him, but to someone who was no longer there. Every dish on the table spoiled as he watched. Cake curdled, frosting bled, balloons sagged into puddles of latex. He tried to leave, but the room didn't let him. Each time he tried, he arrived back at the 13th chair, a new feast before him, more rotten than the last. The cult whispered, "To remember is to rot. To be celebrated is to decay." Each time someone remembered him, a phone call, a Facebook notification, a card in the mail, he felt pain, real pain, because the cult feeds on forgotten things. And Daniel was still being remembered. What would hurt more? Being forgotten by everyone, or remembered by something you can't escape? Let me forget if you trade places with him. Daniel found a mirror, but it no longer showed him. It showed an empty birthday party. No guests, no candles, just a cake and 13 chairs. He screamed, but no sound came. The cult clapped anyway. He wasn't just a guest of honor anymore. He was the main course. It began slowly. A missing email, a phone number gone from someone's contacts, a childhood photo where his face had vanished. The more the cult feasted, the less real he became. One night, he closed his eyes and opened them in a room where no time had passed. And no time would. It was a room with no birthdays. The place where the forgotten go to stay forgotten. He saw other souls there. Children, elderly, entire families. No one had ever said their names out loud again. And in the center of the room was the source, the original cake. It had 13 layers, one for each century of the cult's existence. At the base, a date etched in bone. The year celebrations were forbidden. Long before the word birthday existed, a tribe punished the act of remembrance. They believed remembering gave shape to death, that to name something was to doom it. If you could erase your birthday to live forever, would you? Or would you risk being remembered and devoured? I remember myself, or let me fade. Daniel searched for a door, but doors need a name, and his was almost gone. Even he couldn't remember what his childhood cake looked like, or who his first friend was, or what his own voice used to sound like. Then he heard it, one voice, pure, small, singing the birthday song for him. One person remembered. Somewhere out there, someone still said his name. He remembered a time when he knew who he was. But memory isn't ownership. Not anymore. His name had been buried, not forgotten, not lost, buried, like a cursed artifact too dangerous to say aloud. The cult knew the truth. Names hold power. And remembering someone isn't love. It's a summoning. With every candle snuffed, a piece of him died. Until only one person remembered. A girl named Harper, his childhood friend. The one who never stopped sending birthday cards. Even when he didn't reply. To reclaim his name, he had to go where it had been buried. The grave of the uncelebrated. He walked past tombstones with dates, but no names, because these weren't deaths. These were birthdays no one showed up for. And at the very end, a fresh stone, blank, still soft. Daniel knelt, dug through wax and ash and forgotten wishes, until he found it, a slip of paper soaked in candle wax. To be remembered, you must first be named again. With that whisper, the earth cracked, and something woke beneath the graves. If someone said your name for the last time, would it echo forever, or would it disappear like smoke? Say my name, if you think someone would remember you. Cult awakens one last time. The cult felt the ritual, and they came, not to stop him, but to finish the feast. They offered a deal. Forget yourself and live forever as a shade, or say your name aloud and die a real death, but be remembered. He stood, bleeding memory, the air thick with forgotten birthdays, and said, with a voice not quite his own anymore, "My name is Daniel." This was it, the last birthday, not the day he was born, but the day he'd be remembered or erased. The cult gathered, 12 chairs, 12 robe figures, and one empty seat, marked, "For the one who dares to be remembered." Every memory Daniel had ever forgotten began to bleed back into his skin. His first scraped knee, his 7th birthday gift, a red bike, his mother's voice. But with each memory reclaimed, the cult twisted it. The red bike became rusted bones. His cake turned to ash in his mouth, and his mother's voice spoke in tongues. The cult prepared the last ritual, a birthday party but played in reverse. The goal was simple: unbirth Daniel, send him back to non-existence. But Daniel had a weapon, not a blade, not fire, but one person's memory, Harper. She sang, in the real world, alone, on the porch of the house they grew up in, just like she used to. If one voice could pull you back from the void, whose would it be? They'd sing for me. If you believe someone would bring you back. The cult surrounded Daniel, their masks cracked. They were all versions of him, all the Daniels who had been forgotten in other timelines. He stood in the center, no candles, just a match in his hand. He lit the wax figure of himself on fire, and as it burned, so did their power. The room of forgotten birthdays split open, balloons popped with screams. The cake exploded into smoke. Time snapped back into place. He woke up in a hospital bed, a card in his hand. It read, "Happy birthday. I never forgot. Harper." And for the first time, Daniel wept, because it was real and because he was finally remembered. Daniel lived, or something that felt like living, but the world he woke up to wasn't the one he left. His phone had only one contact, Harper. Every photo was from today. The same cake, the same flame, the same forced smile. He tried to leave town. Every road curved back to the same house, his childhood home. She came to visit. Harper, but she didn't age, didn't blink. She placed another cake on the table. "We're so glad you're still here," she said. "You're the guest of honor, Daniel." And from every window, children watched, waiting. He understood. It wasn't about being remembered. It was about feeding. The cult had evolved, no longer erasing birthdays, but preserving one forever. He hadn't escaped. He'd been promoted. If your best memory became your prison, would you ever want to leave? Let me blow out the candle. if you choose to escape, or I'll stay for the cake if you'd remain. At midnight, he blew out the candle. Darkness fell. The room gasped. Then, whoosh, the flame returned. Make a wish. In towns like yours, someone wakes up to a birthday card they don't remember signing, a candle they didn't light, a name they've never heard, and somewhere a cult sings with forgotten, over and over, forever. They say the cult only watches the ones who forget, but maybe they watch the ones who watch. If you made it to the end, tell them you remember. Type, "I remember my birthday" in the comments below. And if you think a friend would forget theirs, share this with them before the cult gets there first. Would you survive your own birthday? Comment yes if you blow out the candle. Comment no if you'd stay for the cake. And tag a friend who wouldn't make it past the first wish.